Alright, abusuya yi mu bibi akwaba na yɛmfa mbra Mega TV and platform we S4. Ndra ETF UN General Assembly Yura President John Mahama eko kasa wase no. In fact, I've drafted a lot of recommendation as a commendations. Nkofo commending on what you say, nkofo abona baso wa uploading no. I did appraising a lot, including MPP4 and Kasenim. See John Mahama. He did very well. Mohammed Amin Adams. Now or your former finance minister. MPP apayemo. Black in Frata. A 2 p.m. for a journal say whatever. Waba montin so abeyeden. Wabe commendi Ibra John Mahama chima wayade papa sansona Solomon Rusu enso abona baso ena one Emmanuel Kutin biso policy analyst na bibisa security expert ono so di nsimbi atudwa ena Hamza Suhuyini yes ono so ye NDC ni tatahwe omodi nsimbi abamontin so na mepese yenche ho di bekwa kuti sansen no ebi yakoba na yatoa so ediamo adawruma yankopon hiro bibia ene yenya 13,000 subscribers yankopon hiro bia sebi follow me from day one abisi sambre sanso yankopon hiro bia afei na wa subscribe wa kan ye ho sanso yankopon hiro bia afei na ye first time ohwem awaye na adwe so be subscribe yankopon hiro na obi a onya subscribe yenso yankopon hiro no kan wakoma na wo subscribe to my channel no yankopon hiro abusua no yeden build se kutu se bam yenti ense ni bia ko be beto so.
What is right? This one is money making. You have been going to church praying that God gives you money. This is an opportunity to sue the assembly big time.
Yeah.
To make enough money to offset any debt that you have. People must be punished for their unseriousness. Unless the assembly wants to disown them, that they don't know them. But if they came there on behalf of the assembly, I will not go and negotiate with any MC to do what? No. The harm that they would have caused with their actions must be punished. So if you don't have access to any lawyer, this is how lawyers make money. And this is how you can also make decent money from the state. Then we move on. We cannot be tolerating such impunity.
Right.
And it's not a dental assembly law. It has to do with a lot of the assemblies.
I see a lot of complaints also about the way they impound the vehicles.
Yes, on the road.
Go to Okakwe South. Every 12 o'clock, they come to the farm milk area, harassing commercial drivers. Harassing them. You ask them, why are you harassing them? Oh, no, you need money for the assembly. Is that the way you go for money? You have property rate. You are not collecting property rate. How many of the assemblies have done ratings of the properties within their catchment areas to even go for it? These are huge monies. They will not go. They always want the easy way out. But before they could mass up or man up and come to this place, it means they would have succeeded with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that is why I don't want it to be a discussion with the MC. For the MC is even in the known. Just like police people going on the street collecting monies every Monday, they send some to their commanders at various places. And so these people too, they could be doing it. The MC will tell you, I don't have any idea. Meanwhile, they are making sales. So you sue them. And when you see them, you see at the court whether they will not come and confess. But these things we do and then we give the MC some. So, bro,
he should use it as an opportunity to make money.
You have been praying that God should help you. This is an opportunity. Okay?
Right. I'm sure now that this has come up, I don't know if the suit will come up, but you by yourself,
yes.
You're petitioning, you're seeking to petition. You say you've not sent the petition
but
yet.
I will together with the Bubakman and Apia Dankwa, we will go back.
Another petition.
Of course, the Sophia Akufu must be removed from the Council of State. I've said it. Wow. You cannot breach an oath of secrecy and still be there. How would they do any meetings with her? with the actions, what she did.
Anyway, the code of ethics surrounding
the
I think that this one he has a point, but the Baumia
he didn't agree.
You see that the OSP has still not responded.
He has no other business than to respond.
But he has not responded.
But he has no.
Has he acknowledged the letter?
He acknowledged that they stamped it.
Once it was stamped,
that's acknowledgement. I don't have any problem more. But he's been paid to investigate matters. In fact, I didn't need to petition his office. He should have taken the lead.
Picked up.
So if I have done the needful by helping his office, I don't need to pamper him over there.
So Lo is now becoming a citizen vigilante.
Are you not worried
but I thought you were supposed to.
Can you imagine, my brother?
A breakfast meeting between.
Yes,
we did, and we agreed that I should continue. I don't know what happened in between.
No, we didn't agree to continue. You told me as a matter of fact.
Which one is the fact?
With the Baumia situation.
I have a witness.
Mogma will support. That's why he came to monitor. Because
to ensure that
yes, there is compliance. Yeah.
but on this petition though, I mean, there are those who say, I don't know if they will be speaking to you and say, tamper this one. Maybe she was speaking because it was another woman who is in the position of Chief Justice and didn't quite agree with the processes and everything, and it was just in a place to state that she did not support the entirety of the process that went on against the now removed Chief Justice. That should be.
So let me help you on this one. You see,
Sophia
Akufo's hands are tied. There's a precedent. It was when she was Chief Justice, Charlotte was removed.
But she did.
Is it not the same case they established against her and she was removed? Her own was even less.
Yes.
Procurement what? Bridges. So I think this double standard for this one, Solo.
You support him. You support him.
Because when we are building institutions, it's good.
Fantastic.
But when it has to do with choosing and picking and political stuff,
no, that one is not choosing and picking. Whichever way you look at it, if it's choosing and picking, and you feel that others have been left out, that's why he might say
he should also pick it up and then the petition.
So the petition should be flying. This one I'm supporting.
What I'm saying is that with the Sophia Akufo's own, beyond she established the prima facie case, the dangerous aspect was when she appeared before the committee to testify on behalf of the removed Chief Justice. That was where I thought that no. This is unconscionable. That you have been part of a process, you have been part of the consultation. At the committee level, she admitted that she was part of the consultation. The president consulted her, she expressed her opinion. The opinion, she did not make it public. But the truth of the matter is that she was not being sincere, because we understand that 30 people voted for the prima facie case. Then one abstained.
30, yes.
30 voted
only
for,
one.
and then one
But
abstained.
abstinence does not mean you didn't agree.
Yes.
It could be you agreed, but you didn't want to hurt the feelings of the removed Chief Justice, or you disagreed. If indeed she believed that what was going on was wrong, she would have voted no.
No, yes.
So how can you abstain and go to the committee and expose the very institution that you belong to? So now how can we be having meetings together?
As a witness to the former...
You understand? So if I were a member of the Council of State, I would not feel comfortable sitting and having a meeting with Sophia Akufu, because tomorrow, whatever we will discuss, she could turn around and be a witness against the Council of State. And we don't need such personalities in the Council. Forget about whether she has been former chief, because now I have realized that the number of people we put in various positions, if you were going to put them on the spotlight daily, you will see that it's the reason we are not developing. It's the reason that the country is not developed. We hype a lot of people for no reason. We must begin to look at how we appoint people to various positions.
Right.
It will help us.
Right. Let's touch base quickly.
Yes.
We'll look at the subject of Galamsey, because we know that the lands minister stated that instead of a state of emergency, the president has mooted the idea and it's up for serious consideration, declaring these places state of security zone. But I just want quick thoughts on what we heard from the president yesterday in terms of his address. He returned to the General Assembly after 8 years. What did you make of his speech, Solo? And then I picked the thoughts of Mr. Kuti.
I think the speech was spot on, was frank. However, it will not get to anywhere. I believe what underdeveloped countries or developing economies must do is to boycott the UN. The UN is a discriminatory organization. First of all, you have about 193 members constituting the General Assembly. But when you come to the Security Council, which is very, very, very crucial, it's only 15 members that constitute the Security Council. Out of the 15, 10 are permanent members. You have already shown that we have the big boys and the small boys. So what would I be doing with the UN? The UN is supposed to maintain peace across the globe. Go to South Sudan. This has been an albatross on the West neck. What has been the agency of the UN towards Sudan? A lot of people, close to 12 million people, have left this war. They are the people knocking on the doors of the US in Europe, and we being accused that immigration. So if you belong to such a body and it's only few people whose interests are being catered for, then what is the point in belonging to that institution? The UN is supposed to make sure that the economic conditions of all member countries are better off. We are in a world where we are always told by the big players, the US, the UK, the Canada, they are what? The G7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the big players.
The big players.
Big economic players,
so
big security
we don't
players,
belong. If I were the African countries, but we can also not complain because with the AU itself, we are not doing anything serious. In the 21st century, we are still dealing with border controls in our African sub-region. So the first step is that African leaders must take themselves out of the UN. Let the big players continue to play their bigness there. And let's come and deal with our AU. Once we are able to make the AU very strong, self-reliant, self-dependent, why would we need the UN? Why would we need them? Look, everything they are doing is schemed and skewed towards the Western world. When Greece was going through crisis, the International Monetary Fund, that is an agency under the UN, go and see how much they granted to Greece and the time limits and the conditions they gave. So flexible they gave to them.
As compared to
only 3 billion, we have to write even the great-great-grandfathers' names for them to stagger the payment in 3 years. How do you want to belong to such an institution? They use the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, to come and advise Africa that we must not be giving subsidies to our farmers. How can you say you want to improve your agriculture without giving subsidies to your farmers? Recently, they used the same IMF to come and tell the Bank of Ghana that they must stop intervening in the market. That was the most useless advice I've ever heard. That a government is supposed to protect its citizens. That if a government has realized that without intervention in the market, the exchange rate will be volatile, you say they should not intervene. And you consider this institution as something that you must be belonging to. It's an institution put there to make sure that Africa continues to wallow in abject poverty. And that is why I believe that beyond the frank statements, commentary by the president, Africa must take a second look at it. Not just Africa, those in other regional blocks who feels they are not welcome at the United Nations must take themselves out and let those that believe that UN is their puppet deal with their institution. And let's see whether without Africa, all these economies will survive. Africa is the basket. That is what I was saying.
Right. Let me also welcome the Honorable Suhini as well into the studio, who's just joining Hamza Suhini.
Esquire.
Are you not late yet?
Said the late.
Are you not late?
No. I think we'll have to change. We'll have to change that one. We'll have to change that chair for you just quickly. And
he used to be slim.
He used
came to power. You see, he's big.
He's big now.
He's more occupied. You have changed. I can tell you that you have changed. You can tell me that you have changed.
Even Ebo agrees that I haven't changed.
You haven't changed. But Mr. Kuti, just quick thoughts on the president's address yesterday as well. Even as I try and get that seats changed for Hamza.
In fact, Marina, I wish the president a safe journey back. In fact, he has simply gone to make enemies for himself, because his speech is a speech many African leaders have made in the past. You remember our founding father, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. You remember Gaddafi, when he even tore the charter live on TV. You remember the venerable Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe. I think that beyond the structural issue, you see, the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, they always disagree because of their veto power mechanism to any structural changes. And you also realize that more often than not, there is not even consensus among the African countries as to the number, whether they want 1 or 2, and who even represent or sit on the Security Council.
Right.
And if you look at the geopolitical rivalry as well, it means that proposals often get what? Blocked. And the issue has to do with we as Africans. We agree that respect is earned. You understand? Until we begin to do our stuff right, these people will never respect us. Look at ECOWAS. Look at the African Union, the AU.
Yeah.
Even let's go down to our countries, how we treat our own citizens, how we go about our development. These people will look at us and will not respect us. When you travel abroad, Mawina, don't you see the difference? It's all about institutions working. And this is how these people can respect us. And by the year 2050, Africa will be home to 25% of the entire world population. And that by itself is to the advantage of Africa. So when we begin to do our things right, these people will need us. We will not even need them.
Right.
Not the big statements we are making. Those statements will not go anywhere. How is it that a country like Ghana, since 2012, this menace of Galamsey started seriously in this country? We are destroying our water bodies, our farmlands, and we are happy glorifying things of this nature in the name of politics. And we want someone to respect us. How do we earn that respect?
Right.
I think that we are simply making enemies for ourselves. That's why I pray fervently that may God bring our president back home safely. To me, he has simply gone to make enemies for himself. And these people, they'll begin to target him. That's the honest truth. And his statement was not different from that of the president of Kenya.
Yes.
William
Ruto. And these statements, we cannot continue to be a talk nation without actions. Let's begin to trade among ourselves, do things right. Look at the issue of these deportees. That U.S. court system is blocking the deportation of these deportees. U.S. is looking for third-party countries, and the whole country like Ghana will accept
we availed ourselves
to accept these deportees and take them home. If other African countries begin to do the same thing, Solo, do you know how many Ghanaians will be deported home?
But wouldn't you be happy that Ghanaians come back and we develop our country? Why must you? You see, that's why the point of departure.
No.
Yes.
Solo, listen.
I want him to finish so that we'll move
Solo.
on. We'll get into the main subject of Ghana. This is just a quick thought
on legalities.
Yes.
I am not in any way championing illegal migration. No. But these people found themselves there. They are going through the legal processes. The course in the United States of America says that you cannot deport these people to their country because of ABC. And now the US president is circumventing the law, looking for third parties. And we have agreed to be part of it. That is where I have a serious challenge with. Well, you remember the 2 Gitmo detainees?
The Gitmo 2 detainees.
What we all said about it.
Yes.
The U.S.-America military base in this country.
Yeah.
We championed it personally to the peril of my life when I was even disqualified from NPP by, see the hypocrisy. Is NPP not heading to court over this deportees thing? That it wasn't rectified. So this country, we have to do a balancing game, make sure we develop our institutions so that you don't do things tomorrow, you find yourself in the box. And I'm particularly worried because if you look at the current foreign affairs minister, he's a very fine gentleman with a lot of prospect. And you know the internet doesn't lie. Tomorrow, an opportunity will present itself, and they'll play this thing back to him. You remember Miraculous Abuaje when they start to make spin over the Galamsey thing? They brought
people have
it back to him. When he said that you can't go and address every Galamsey person.
Let me stop him so that you just make that point that we can hear from Hamza quickly, and then we get into Galamsey.
We must be happy that our people are brought back home. You see, the only reason why the US is strong is that they have taken the better part of our continent to be helping the economies.
So you want them to come back?
So if they are coming, no matter what, I will Gitmo 2. The last time I explained my point of departure with you. Gitmo 2, the Yemenis, they are in Western Asia. Those that are coming here are ECOWAS brothers. ECOWAS has a free movement protocol. So we need to get that drift very clear, that if West Africans are coming back to West Africa, do we still have to go back to Parliament for that ratification when they have that protocol of free movement in this country?
I'm sure this debate will continue for a while. But let me bring in Hamza Suhini. He's a member of the NDC Communications team who's joining us this morning as well.
They are not giving him position. That's the problem I have with him.
No, he doesn't want position.
Solo's always talking.
Hamza told me that
agenda somewhere.
Don't come and make
Yes, you guys. I'm taking the both of them. You can make your point on the president's speech just briefly yesterday at the UN General Assembly.
Good morning to you, and good morning to my, of course, very good brother. He's a senior brother, and
he has been avoiding me. More you give me.
Maybe one day you should give him the opportunity to tell you about his exploits in the Upper West region when they were still foot soldiers for the new Patriotic Party.
Is it?
Oh, yes.
Those days.
Yes, and his exploits, what he had to do for the party those days. Unfortunately, they came and decided to abandon the principles that many of them stood for. And so today they have seen the need to form their own political party. And they are doing very well. It is my prayer that indeed the movement for change becomes actually the second force.
Amen.
In the politics of this country. And of course my big brother too, Kutin, also from the NPP stock, interestingly, contested for parliamentary candidates, sidelined as well.
Charlie Hamza have had us this morning. Now who calls her? You know the NPP calls her.
Okay. On which topic first?
Let's just briefly on the president's address. Then we come to the subject of Galamsey. Just brief thoughts on the president.
Yesterday, listening to the president, many of us felt very, very proud and vindicated as far as the choice we made in the last elections. If it is, we are to take into consideration the choice that we made in the last election. I say so because for me, it was not only a reflection of an African identity, it also mirrored to a very large extent the hopes and aspirations of the African people, not just Ghana. And that is very, very important, especially at the back of the reckless press conference, incompetent for that matter, press conference that was organized by the minority side of Parliament, led by their ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, my own brother, the Honorable Jinapo.
Samuel Jinapo.
Because for me, I was very disappointed when I read their statement. Very disappointed, hugely disappointed. And you see, that is what the new Patriotic Party, that is what it does to good brains, intellectuals. It poisons your brain. Because they have a kind of politics that is only self-serving and has no space for national interest. That is the kind of brand Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia built in the last 16 years of being in charge of the affairs of the new Patriotic Party. And so you cannot effectively evaluate or assess President Mahama's statement yesterday without also coming back to our local context and the activities of that particular group, even predating our independence struggle. Because what they did before President Mahama's statement clearly shows that they are still struggling to break away from that past. Some elements within the New Patriotic Party, I must be honest, are still struggling to break away from that past they took. Even when we were jeering towards independence as a people. And one would have thought that many of these guys who are young would have learned useful lessons from history and positioned themselves to become meaningful agents of our national identity and African identity for that matter. But they missed that opportunity. First of all, they claimed that because Ghana is a member of the non-aligned movement, Ghana ought not to have declared or condemned the atrocities in Gaza. And I asked myself, do they actually understand the objectives of the non-aligned movement, even at the time of its formation? It was simply a movement made up of not only underdeveloped countries, it was made up of even developed countries outside Africa. And the position was simple, not to take a political decision either to support the United States of America or Russia, but a principled position in pursuit of their collective interests and projection of fundamental human rights, no matter where atrocities can be found. These were the founding principles of non-aligned movement. And what the foreign affairs minister did, the declaration he made, the condemnation in Gaza, reflected on all fours the founding principles of non-aligned movement. Because what he did was not a declaration of support for the policy position of Israel, nor was it a declaration of support for the policy position of Palestine. Yeah. It was simply taking a position to condemn abuse of human rights of the people of Gaza. It was not the same as saying that Palestine is right and Israel is wrong. Absolutely not. And it dovetails into the statement President Mahama made before the General Assembly yesterday. Because he was also quite clear that the only solution is a two-state solution, which this government, the Republic of Ghana, if I say government, the Republic of Ghana,
we recognize,
took as far back in 1988. As far back 1988. So that is the foreign policy position of Ghana when it comes to the issue of Palestine and Israel, a two-state solution. And by that declaration, President Mahama did not declare support for Israel or Palestine. So you ask yourself,
even if they go back under Kufuor took the same policy stand.
And I'll get
so
there.
how
I'll
can
get
the
there.
same party?
And I'll get there. I'll get there. 1988.
Yeah.
Today they are talking about misinterpretation of non-aligned movement principles and what it stood for. Really?
It was not.
Where was Abu Jinapo, the Honorable, when his own boss, in 2023, somewhere in August, went to the United States and declared open support for Israel in contradiction of our 1988 official position of the Republic of Ghana? Where was he? Where was the ideals, their own redefined ideals of the non-aligned movement, when Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made that declaration?
So you find that hypocrisy in the highest form?
Absolutely. You do not need an angel to descend from the high heavens and tell you that these guys are confused. When it comes to even what they must stand for, they have no idea. And that is why I feel sorry for the current NPP. Because it needs serious transformation. It needs serious rebuilding. Because these are things you can easily verify. So if there's anybody who has betrayed the foundational principles of non-aligned movement, and most importantly, Ghana's official position since 1988, it was Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2023 August, when he declared open support for Israel, in clear contradiction of the Ghanaian position for Israel.
But Suhini,
Again.
I wanted you to even look at how can the same political tradition have two different stands? And the Kufuor.
But that is the point I've made. I've made that point.
He has made it forcefully. Yeah.
And you see, that is the confusion we are talking about.
Yeah.
Putin. Again, they say, you see, the contradiction, the hypocrisy is quite nauseating, to say the least. So, these were the very people.
Yeah.
When the late President Mills declared Dufiasem, what did they tell us? Didn't they condemn President Mills for that declaration? Today, they want Ghana to adopt that position when it comes to Palestine and Israel. Like, seriously? Have they forgotten? That's what I'm saying. If a simple Google search would reveal many of these things. Again, you are just speaking at the heels of a president who handed over not long ago and created a diplomatic mess between Ghana and Burkina Faso because of his reckless, uninformed commentary on the Burkina Faso crisis.
He was informed, but he decided to go and shortchange this country.
Absolutely. Well, I can't dispute that.
There. How much did you take?
I mean, yeah.
You see, so
how much did you
it had to take this same President John Mahama upon election. Do you think that President Mahama's decision to appoint a special envoy for these Sahelian
countries
was just for aesthetics purposes? It was because of the mess Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had created
to repair those.
in that sector, to repair that particular mess and to bring some measure of confidence. So when I listened to President Mahama yesterday, I told myself that, look, Ghana should be proud. Africa should be proud that we've managed to produce somebody like him. If for nothing at all, he demonstrated to the whole world that indeed when it comes to principles, Ghana will lead the way. If for nothing at all, he demonstrated to the whole world that when it comes to issues of international relations and diplomacy, there are times we have to be very strong and candid and abandon the niceties of diplomacy that obscures or obfuscates the issues when it comes to the real challenges
on the ground.
Because the reality is that this nonsense about veto, many of us, even in our lecture rooms from the universities, we've discussed it.
Of course. I mean, why must people have veto power?
Absolutely, without any check.
That's why I've said that we should disassociate ourselves from this whole thing.
No, but that is the reason why many have called for us to distance ourselves from such organizations.
There are those who say that a lot of what we've been hearing from the different African presidents is just mere rhetoric. We've been saying this for God knows how long.
That's precisely what
and nothing is coming out of it.
Of activism.
Suhini.
The birth of activism is an important stage
Absolutely.
of change.
Right.
So the way President Mahama spoke tough.
Yeah.
If we have about 5, 6, 7, 8 African presidents
Towing that
same line, be rest assured that unconsciously we will building a force that we can rely on to effect those changes.
But look, in the past, these statements have always been made. I don't disagree with you that African
let me finish when I finish.
But it
please,
makes nice.
Please. Even our independence, it didn't start with fiscal action.
Yeah.
It started with utterances. Articles were written. Activism. It took time before we were able to get the momentum, to give it the physical momentum we needed in the form of demonstrations.
Sure.
So you cannot discount the role of such utterances when it comes to laying the foundation for eventual takeoff when it comes to activism. We must not discount it.
Right.
How can activists be saying that we must?
I want you to wrap up. I want you to wrap up for me.
Yes,
so that I can just.
I'll wrap up.
Okay,
And
I have to go for a commercial. Then we come.
His Excellency President John Mahama
Exactly.
I have
also touched on an important nerve, especially when it comes to the atrocities being committed in Gaza. Good thing is important to state that President Mahama is not the first person, or Ghana is not the first country to have declared these atrocities as unacceptable.
Of course.
Even countries within the European Union that support Israel's policy position have come out to condemn what is happening in Gaza, including the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Indeed, the United Nations itself set up a commission of inquiry.
Yeah.
And the commission of inquiry concluded that what is happening in Gaza is classical genocide.
Of course.
And that it means out of the 5 pillars of genocidal activities, it meets about 4.
Everything about it is genocide.
And I agree.
Yeah.
I disagree with the fact that it's 4.
Everything
I
about
believe
it
that
is genocidal.
everything about the 5 pillars, it meets it. So President Mahama's declaration was clearly in tandem with international position, with states' international position when it comes to the activities of Gaza. And we must bring pressure on Israel to ensure that these activities are stopped, and not just stopped. We must also demand accountability, because if this had happened in any African country, the official head of that African country would have been held to account.
Absolutely.
Right.
Before the International Criminal Court.
Thank you.
And so we must be demanding
I know
that the Israeli Prime Minister be taken to
just
his
one
level.
It is very important.
a quick 1 minute. 1 minute.
Whatever
Then we
you
go
have
for.
said is 100%.
Then what are you going
But
to do?
wait.
No, the opening statement
But
is 100%.
Exactly.
There's something here. Let's begin to look inward as Africans. Let's begin to do our stuff right.
That one I agree.
Let's respect our citizens.
That one I agree.
And even within the African continent, we are not united. Even there's not a common voice on what these presidents are talking about within the African continent.
Yes.
They don't know whether it should be 2 or 3 who represent Africa.
Sure.
So we have a lot of homework to do
Before we take it.
Exactly.
But the activism, I think we all can agree, must continue.
No, it has to.
The
it has to.
activism has gone far too long. It has gone far too long.
But how can we have France, that depends entirely on Africa, sit at the Security Council and have a veto power? France, the entire economy of France depends on Africa.
Right.
And they have the veto power to be vetoing all the 54 or 53 African countries. It cannot happen. In any case, that is why you must support the idea that when West Africans are being brought back to West Africa,
let me go for this quick break. Even though we've almost run out of time, but let me go quickly for this spot of commercial, and then when we return,
we are talking about legal migration.
When we return, then we will get into the subject of illegal mining in terms of a declaration of a state of emergency. And then what we're learning of as well is declaring our forest areas as security zones. We're back after this. Declaring our forests and water bodies security zone is the best way to go. I had some numbers I had wanted to walk through, but because of time we can't do that. But I want to start with Mr. Kuti on this one because of the security expertise you bring to on board.
Yeah.
How can we ensure that this intention of this government is seen to? Because it means we'll have to deploy permanently police and then the military around these areas if our forests and water bodies are declared as security zone. Do we have the personnel even to want to consider such an effort to start off with?
But for the purposes of our listeners, I want to use a house as an example to differentiate what a state of emergency is and declaring the place as a security zone. It's declaring a place for example, like a house as a security zone is like putting guards in the house.
Yeah.
But state of emergency is like giving the keys to the house to the guys. They can go in and out and do whatever. You understand? So if you look at our fight against Galamsey, that is what we have always done in the past. You know the kind of security operations we've had around our water bodies and our forest reserves. They were given enhanced security powers to do certain things. You see, when you have 60% of your water polluted, 40% of your land poisoned, And you heard recently when they took contumely and did some analysis and the level of toxins in the contumely we eat.
This week we've even had more reports, fresher reports suggesting even the air in some of these mining areas contains heavy metals and all that. Exactly.
And if you look at the turbidity level of our water, it is about 94,000 NTU when the accepted level is just 500 NTU.
In fact,
so to me, the president have not ruled out state of emergency. In his statement, he said he's waiting for the right time and he wants to exhaust the other avenues. I will respectfully want to differ a bit that given the current nature of our water and the acidity level of our land, to the extent that I read Ecuador is overtaking Ghana as the second producer of cocoa. Look at the forex we are going to lose in between. And who are the perpetrators of this menace called Galamsey? Just some few greedy ones. So to me, the president should just listen to the experts, the civil society organizations, and the religious bodies. We are not saying by declaring a state of emergency it should be in perpetuity. We can do it 6 months. And then we sanitize the place. Then we can have a conversation as a country. You understand? How we'll go around our legal mining activities. And the cardinal point is that it should benefit the communities and the country as a whole. And if you talk about state of emergency, people are making the argument about those involved. There are no alternative livelihood for them and stuff like that. It's also going to create a problem. I understand. But are we all going to die just because of this very few? Why don't you take the step, sanitize the system,
space,
and then bring them back? Another thing government need to do, if they really want to succeed in this fight, is involve the chiefs. In fact, the chiefs, they give the lands out to these people.
Right.
Once we don't educate, and they are neck deep in it. Someone made a statement, is it Ernesto Yebo or something, during the fix my country, the country
protests and all of that.
Protests against the Galamsey menace. Look, if Otunfo could give an order that during the burial of the sister Asante Hima, right, no one should come out, and they obeyed, why can't he give an order that under his territory he doesn't want to see Galamsey? So they should support the government. I think the government alone cannot do it. And if we feel that it is only the kinetic means we can use to fight this menace, we'll be missing the point, because our security personnel are also human beings. And you in the past, a lot of them are even neck deep in the Galamsey menace.
Right.
So the excuse of the Attorney General referring the National Youth Organizer and one or the second or the
third vice chair.
So it means that government is committed to the fight. I think that we need to depoliticize the Galamsey issue, and we don't do equalization. Right. The truth of the matter is that the Galamsey menace spat under the NPP. If you look at the margins in terms of the level of licenses that were issued between 2016 and 2024, over 2,000 plus licenses were issued. But if you look concurrently with the other period, it didn't even amount to 1,000. So that is why I don't want to bring the politics.
A little over 100 on that front. But so, let me bring in Solo because of our time. The call is for a declaration of a state of emergency, but this week we've been told that instead of that we will be getting security zones being declared for our waters. There are those who say, how can the government police this? Because some of the rivers run through people's towns, villages and the likes. Would it mean that these persons can no longer go to the rivers from which they fetch and do all of the things that they do?
So, Mawina, first of all, the state of emergency, if a state of emergency is declared, the implementation of it is supervised by who? The military. Is that not the case? I believe that the president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. So probably might have received advice from the military hierarchy that a state of emergency is not ideal. Sometimes we can, as a prefer solutions outside. However, the one that is commanding feels that the troops are not okay with how he wants to go. So let's give him the benefit of that. That's why he said he has not ruled that out. From the movement of change perspective, we were going to ban this small-scale artisanal mining for a year using an executive instrument. Beyond that,
we've seen that before. That happened under the previous administration. We saw a near 2-year ban of small-scale mining.
When they banned it, what happened was that they banned it and they allowed people at the Jubilee House to be doing it. Go and read the Professor Frimpongboate's report. That was what infuriated the small-scale miners. That look, they all accepted. In fact, I went to Takwa and its environs during the ban period. The locals were in support that if this is going to clean the Bonsa River, as we speak, there is a war going on the Bonsa River in Ankobra every day. I have been following keenly the activities of NIMOS. And here, let me say that someone must tell the interior minister to come out clean and clear that there are 2 young men who were arrested. There were more than 2, but 2 of them, we are being told, are his boys, Audu and then Abdul Rahman. Audu known as Scorpion and Abdul Rahman. They are claiming that they are his boys who were involved in Galamsey, who have been arrested by the NIMOS team. I'm saying that if the president says that he has other tools available to him outside of the state of emergency, the only tool we know now, which he has announced, is the NIMOS. So if he wants to assure us that he is ready to deal with it, he must invest heavily in the activities of the NIMOS. I have engaged them and I've realized that they have comprehensive program that if they are well resourced, his wish that we don't get to the point of state of emergency could materialize. As of now, the amount of resources there is not anything to write home about.
So you think supporting NIMOS is the way to go, even though the same government says that they will declare our forests and water bodies a security zone?
That's what I'm it's a form of a state of emergency. If you declare a portion of this country a security zone, what we are saying is that nobody must go there.
But will they have the security personnel? I think it's one of the things. Will they have the security personnel to be able? Because if the explanation you were providing that maybe the military couples and the security chiefs are saying that the personnel might not be enough. Will the personnel be enough to be able to police 24/7 our water bodies and forest areas?
I don't have the number, but I think they should be. Once, because they are advising the president. Mind you, the defense minister, the interior minister, they all sit in cabinet. They are the ones responsible for our security agencies. So whatever is coming from them, I believe there has been calculations that they can be able to deal with it. Yesterday also, I heard them. One of the news items says that they have sent about 200 people into the Bono East area that they are training. I mean, the NIMOS, military, police collaboration to deal with the canker of Galamsey. It is for all of us to follow it through. Once his strategy does not work, which we hope this time it works, then we can put the pressure, because he has not ruled out the issue of state of emergency. Then we can all get to that point. But if he's also going to consider our position, that's the movement, ban it, reclaim the land, revoke LI 2462, which I'm sure it has to. I don't know why.
What we've gotten assurance from the lands minister.
We don't need assurance.
Who's the acting minister for environment that immediately Parliament reconvenes? That is.
But let me also say that the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is doing something wonderful. He is working. He needs all of us our support. You see, this fight must be a national fight. And all those political activists in there who call themselves leading figures of the NDC, who are deep-necked in this Galamsey, it is not NDC matter we are doing here. I love Kontomre.
Now you can't enjoy it without you can't enjoy it without thinking twice.
I mean, after I was going to go to Choba with you. How can you go and take it?
Let me bring in Hamza now, and that's a big question. If you can't implement a state of emergency, why are we seeing the mention of security, our forests and water bodies being labeled as a security zone, which is a plan by the government?
It is not accurate that this government has said anywhere that it cannot implement.
It is not in the offing just as yet.
Absolutely. So there's a difference. Like the economy, we inherited. You remember that prior to the elections, we told you that our economy was in dire straits. And the economy had been badly injured to such an extent that the only way was for us to rescue the economy and put it back to life. Unfortunately, upon assumption of office, when we were shown the books, we were all shocked at the level of mismanagement that characterized the Ghanaian economy. Indeed, more than we anticipated when we were in power, when we were in opposition. And I think that it is the same thing with the Galamsey fight. We've always known in opposition that the government or the previous government had failed in that fight. And indeed, the Ghanaian people had lost confidence in the ability of the government to effectively deal with Galamsey, largely because the political will was not there. Where the political will was manifest, it was being used to line private pockets and strategically position the new patriotic party to be able to win the 2024 election. You remember the problematic statement of party here, Sika, when Ghanaians were calling on them to fight illegal mining. Again, I am sure it is not also lost on you that it is under that same regime that purported to be fighting the illegal mining that the LI
2462 was passed.
2462 came into effect. It was passed under that same regime. Again, we are dealing with a regime that, even in the face of mounting campaign by the Ghanaian media, manifesting or showing evidence of polluted water bodies, the government went to sleep and simply was not interested in acting to protect our water bodies. So it was at the back of that, with known personalities of the government engaged in illegal mining, from the Kumasi Mayor mining in our forest reserves, that is Sampine, and the likes of Wuntumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman. People within the Vice President's office were agents of giving concessions, illegal concessions to people to mine. Ample evidence of people tasked with the responsibility of protecting and championing the fight against illegal mining, who themselves were caught on live video receiving bribes to make way for illegal miners to go at the presidency. So Ghanaians were justified. University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Christian Council, or what do you call it, the Catholic Bishops' Conferences, and the likes, they were justified, UTAC, at the time in calling for a declaration of a state of emergency because they had lost confidence in the ability of the government to fight the canker sustainably. Right. Now, we have come into office and we have realized that even at the time that we were calling for a state of emergency, thinking that the situation was bad, the canker is more deeper than we thought in opposition. So we are left with two options. Either to engage in window dressing by simply declaring a state of emergency now, or engaging in a sustainable approach of blocking all the loopholes, making it impossible for many people to engage in illegal mining before we countenance the possibility of a declaration of state of emergency. That would have been a holistic and sustainable approach to the menace.
Right.
Because we saw that for almost a year and a half, the Nanado regime declared a ban on small-scale mining, only for them to use it as a ruse to seize concessions and to mine themselves.
Right.
That is why even within that period, our water bodies were not clean. That is why within that period, our military men were still on the ground burning excavators. And in some cases, the excavators got missing and went back to the field.
500 was seized and
So, my brother, that is the situation in which we found ourselves as a new government. So it is either to declare a state of emergency and fail to fish out, because immediately you declare a state of emergency, your national security architecture will focus on the state of emergency. And at any time you leave the state of emergency, the people can go back to the site. But it is strategic for this government to continue to implement the policies that we are implementing and also be able to fish out the financiers President Mahama spoke about in opposition and deal with them decisively.
That is why we must not be walking
free. I agree with you. and deal with them decisively before we contemplate the idea of a declaration of state of emergency. And I can understand that the civil society organizations like you,
they'll continue to put pressure.
They continue to call for the state of emergency, and you cannot fault them for making those demands because they are simply being consistent. It is the responsibility of this new government to engage them and let them understand the blueprint we have behind the scenes and solicit their support to support that blueprint. And if after a year we are not getting the desired effects, the possibility of declaration of state of emergency will be part of the table. And absolutely. I know, based on the information I have from the presidency, that indeed they are in the process of actually engaging these civil society organizations to make bare government's blueprints when it comes to the tackling of the Galamsey menace. Remember that because the fight is national security in nature, we cannot simply make the blueprint a public document. It gives an opportunity for the criminals who are engaged in this Galamsey to find loopholes and prepare appropriately for it. Right. But because of the pressure, I think that the president has decided that it is important he invites the civil society organizations to a closed-door meeting, make everything bare, show them our blueprints, presentations will be made, and based on that, we will be able to carry them in this sustainable approach to ending the menace.
Right.
Oh, we'll see them.
This was a civil society organization. A lot of them are also spies for these.
I agree with you, but we will see them. That is why, like we did to the former Chief Justice.
Yes.
You know, when we gave her the petition,
yes,
it was marked.
Yes.
She had no idea that it was marked, and she proceeded to leak it. That's how we knew the source of the
source of the leakage.
We have a workable system at the presidency under John Mahama that can track any civil society player that betrays that discourse.
Because someone else doing business with it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, today we couldn't get into a lot of issues because of the timing. No. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you. And so I didn't get the notification because
so when I gave Rocky was on, I said,
they gave it to His Excellency Rocky Down.
because now he owns a diplomatic passport.
No, we have to congratulate him. He's now His Excellency.
Yes,
because he's doing a lot of stuff for the country.
He's selling the country, and that is progress. That is the kind of leadership His Excellency President Mahama promised, and he's delivering.
Absolutely. He said he was surprised. He
actually was called to come and receive it. So he wasn't
even the country.
But now I'm being told I have to answer for the query that will come because it's not wrapped up.
You have to quickly purge yourself because look, we are going to follow it out with another petition to your bosses. Why we did not start the program?
I was for Intian Common Ena a course no. Yamini no corridor, so Muka say ya. The NPP form per crancy. Betty said, NDC for Ghana for Boma Basso. And oh dear, sanity or Yahoo in politics. Opponent no the which ni say omo airborne yon kwabaso and this is for opposition na sanity but agamia kwa ise and this is for omo abaso boy I say a gainy substance meaning say it is getting root enya ehini ejin say Ghana forces say they are beginning to love the government of NDC, the government of today. Enti uhe post bi abeba na nsinya abrante ba akoye social media probe fa Galamsey issues on and obi say ohwa Galamsey na nkasa no hwan na de ba okuruma ana say hwan na elusu fight a man a man is so dangerous to the extent say she say no must in declare state of emergency. And go for about 90% of Ghanaians say a MPP for one year west and they should shut up. Meaning say social media post no who dia me ya momfanche me Cement me pulling it out to her, but I learned some what to tibisa. Me who know Facebook the pakona me feeling dinka crack. One of young guys they're doing well when it comes to politics. Analyzing and those stuff. My MPP. Omo di say jumano. Omo take galamsey issue, galamsey fight to the next level. Ema Ghana yeji ho na enji. Ema Ghana yeji ho na nyede enji. But the next uncle forward. Aye 360. Sese bueshe oba mono na wo ye ni sei. Eno di onim dada okan ya na wadane. Eno mo atwa mo ho kankan kurudo chameleon mo adanda mo. Mo adanda mo abosoma akotiri se whatever. Eno mo ka kire Ghana for ndc for se mo nso vu galamsey no. Meanwhile mo ensuo na miracles abwaji ko gina ho no. Sansuo no Samija mfiko gina sansuo ni bi ho in the last years before the number baba imo. Almost see no. And madika akacho se miracles abwaji obi a. Opese oye bibia na brand MPP wo position. I say follow the footsteps of Samija Mfi. Said the Samija Mfi di omo ana omo wo abaimo no. Opese oye sad no oni omo. You see, me because in the first place, miracles abaje won't kind of correct. In the second place, Usan is disrespectful. Hey, let me tell you, some agent feel be papa. To the extent say Kwame Sifaka on any issue. Or the Kwame Sifaka issue. Emma Kwame Sifaka catches the Monday day or money shows and so that's some agent fidye. Oko. To the extent say NDC for declare say Kwame Sifaka a hypocrite journalist. Inti no munko sini omunko ni show bio. And on the boycott to that show. But on any near say issue ni no now could deliver in some miracles are budget to Krumana mo. Mosi TV3 for high propagandas or whatever. Inti munko TV3 for shows bio. But yet money more professors, more money, more professors could be bent or no. More doctors could be bent or no. Moko honum. Zelto is a wine professor, Zelto is a wine doctor, Zelto, means on NPP new. Among moko, I could defend him. Strategically, no matter what is a momunko, now money or modi. Before you serious so. Who opposition must my boycott media general. And can you fight media general? One of the vibrant, he said here, you could in some way, 3 FM. The kind of numbers are media general a gada come people for. You will never dream or think of boycotting media general in your analysis when it comes to distributing it to the public. And come on yada. And MPP for we do more. Uncle is a umbejai ham time. Umbejai nyatrim. Umbejai sebi. Amumfa nipa nyefe. Unko muhua unye nipa. Some of us, you will be on them. A big genomoso, I'm telling you. A big genomoso. Even when they are in opposition, you will let them know say more opposition and one. You should be organized because you want a formidable opposition party to criticize the ruling government or the ruling party. It will be before Mupu be criticizing more. And you see, it has become a what? Just an open secret. Ghana Nibienu. Every Ghanaian knows MPP is a party new. The party it is at the verge of collapsing. Say the Bomiako Kayano. Say cocoa board is at the verge of collapsing. Mumutina bomu kachire Ghana for say cocoa board is at the verge of collapsing. And na 2 million demo was a vice president no anything. Ade mo san kachire say ono no say sa vice president na no di no. Say obeye niema ni nyina na say Ghana for yeto abama no na enka 2024 yeto abama no one na aban na omo baya enka den na ono bo mi obeye because na waye niema ni na wi panyi kasa sei Donald Trump krenka we Macron say hwan ba King Charles krenka sei abusua Oja asem sere ajimi sem you crash me tell me people in the world I don't know minim there but until say ombese so madwin as a political party a omopo my Ghana yi no and you moving be shasa akasa mom but ntisa ati aboa and I've always been telling you this before who the moon distribute to you people should deliver mu deliver na makofa obi asempa FM so me candidate kwa na Ghana for beto amom obi ani so obi de one o man hene hypocrite but ombehwe adwuma ndisi for my yeso mo atoba ma obi ni o man hene so me president what the me chona say I want to create a mean impression say mo ye adwuma ni ya adwuma na ebe kasa amamo it is not about the candidates na mo be presenting no say dun ketia obeba Julius Debra and I am Professor Jean Nana, the Vice President, Her Excellency, and whoever you can name it. What you say? But the Juma Mobile big push, when you don't push it. Now Ghana quite you. When you don't push it. Maybe I buy and can be bound and can win ya. Said the Kufaro kind year of rules, and can make concentrate on a quite because Ghana quite ultimately we are buying on Banuti Ghana quite. We are about 80% to 90% ahead. Umbeto abama basa. Akwenye ukuruma. Akwenye ukuhebi eminimpa wabunu region baby. Ukuhonoma awokeni pana yedine tumoto kim. Ubedu hospital na clinic, nearby clinic. Na we deliver such an embarrassment. Enti we are buying up. Yedi bibisha wonsa. You don't know yet. Akufadu declare year of loss. Masa ewe. Nasi Ghana wahi omwati. Nasi Ghana wahi omwati. Omwadi si Ghana. Omwamiano. It is ideal in a day betu apamo bomia. Bomia kwata. President ni do bo onye bi nida. And before omudu ko 2028 na se wa usan lusu usan try to do kubi o mba betu twa to fi hono. Up to what paso se kwada. Especially bomia Kennedy camp. I just say Kennedy Japan camp. Intino. Bomia they forget it. 50 years current muma wo empty as a kufado the vice president or no video man so must sell mine 50 years current muma sa trademark no emfiri ho empopa eda so since a kufado so mu ana no ntina nchen ma ndc mbo man ne de bomia uni ahoto uni ahoto I'm telling you uni ahoto Ghana for big now so Chira waju wa conversation na businya kupo chiro bibia bidian meka bye bye.